Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breech coming to you here today. We are inching closer and closer to Las Vegas. Wrestlemania 41 is honestly coming up right up around the corner as I record this. It is Wednesday. Next week at this time, I will be in Las Vegas. I thought I was crazy. I had planned my trip basically to go from Thursday until Tuesday because I just didn't want to go hog wild on my trip to WrestleMania 41. I mainly just wanted to go there to see the show, to feel the magic of WrestleMania, what it's like when WWE takes over a town. Yet once again, it's been 9 years since I've been to WrestleMania. WrestleMania 32 is my last trip to Dallas. I just was not at a good point in my life. I hit all-time lows after that, and plus I really think that my love of professional wrestling fell out 2017 to roughly, I think I started getting it back 2020, but then I think it went down a little bit. 2022 has really kicked it in. I was having a discussion about when AEW kind of, fell off to me, and it just didn't seem like it was appointment television anymore. And I thought it was when Punk actually left the company, like when he really got released. And my buddy Mike said that he thought it was when Cody left the company at WrestleMania 38. That would be the one that happened in Dallas, the 2-day event when he came back and took on Seth Rollins. I can remember watching that show, but there was a long period when, like, even if I turned on a pay-per-view on Peacock, I thought it was cool that, I think it costs like $10 a month. You get to watch all the pay-per-views, much like when we had the WWE Network back in the day. But I was really only watching for the main event. Every once in a while, a match would pop up, and it would be like, oh, there's 2 matches on the show that I actually care about. But for the most part, we can't do this. There was just a long period when it was only the main event, and even the main event was like, I'm only watching it so I know what's going on in wrestling. It just didn't really grab me at all. There was stuff that came up, and it was cool when The Rock would show up or Cena would stop by, but I just didn't feel it. I remember when the city of Las Vegas was going to build a Allegiant Stadium for the Los Angeles Raiders at the time, and they were going to move to Las Vegas. Immediately, I knew that Vegas was a destination city for WrestleMania. Just the lights, the glamour. I feel like Vegas is made for WrestleMania. They've had SummerSlam. They've had Money in the Bank. They've had, Monday Night Raw with Raw Roulettes. They had WrestleMania 9. WrestleMania 9, we got the documentary that's going to be coming out on Friday on Peacock. And I think we're going to find out how much WWE really shined up the Caesars Palace parking lot, where basically they put down the ring, and I think they transformed that boxing arena that was made up with just basically bleachers that were brought in like you're running a high school football game, turned it into the Roman Coliseum. And they had the lights and the glamour of making WrestleMania by, having people, dressed up in the Caesar outfit. Cleopatra was there. Everybody was wearing a toga. It was the world's biggest toga party. Bobby Heenan came in on a camel. Did Macho Man come in on an elephant, or am I remembering that wrong? But, that WrestleMania, first one to me, held outside. I guess maybe I didn't remember the big event, but with Macho Man, with Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan wrestling inside of the steel cage in Milwaukee. It was a Coliseum on video, but to me, I was like, I didn't even know they were allowed to wrestle outside. Just the fact that there was not a roof on the arena, it drove me crazy. And even to this day, the video games these days are too freaking hard. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but like every time they put the WrestleMania 9 arena, into a video game in the past, I wrestled on that thing all the time. That thing honestly had the most coolest looks that I had ever seen. But getting back to like when I made my first video that Vegas was going to get WrestleMania, it was roughly probably 2016, 2015, as soon as the Raiders said that that's where they were moving and they had the money, that's what they were going to build. And my buddy Miguel, who is a Raider fan, he basically told me it's going to take a few years to build this. Once they get it, they're not going to get, WrestleMania right away. It's going to be down the road. And I'm not quite sure. I think Allegiant Stadium opened in 2021. I think it opened when there was no fans. The first, year with fans would be 2021. I think they hosted SummerSlam that year. And like for WWE, that was one of the first shows that they were out of the Thunderdome. They had fans. I remember at that point feeling like I hadn't been to a concert in a long time, and I wished that I could have gone to that show. The SummerSlam show, is that the Cena versus Roman show? I'm not 100% sure. But I remember watching that one, being fired up for it and being jealous of all the people that were there. I think they also tried to run Money in the Bank at Allegiant Stadium one time, and they ended up not being able to sell out the arena. They didn't really have a huge turnout for that one, and I think they moved that one over to the MGM Grand. I think I saw Jimmy Buffett play there back in the day. But Vegas is going to be awesome. It is going to be really, really cool. I've been to Vegas once in my life. I live here in Sacramento, California. The first time I went to Las Vegas was 2002. I guess I just really didn't think about it. Or maybe the trip was just planned last minute. I drove from Sacramento to Vegas. In my memory, it's like a 12-hour drive. And I made that. I had fun. I came back to work. And I told somebody that I worked with who was older than me, and they were just like, you can fly to Las Vegas for like $59. And my mind was like, what the hell have I done? My mind was blown. But I've never, paid for that flight. I remember going to see Jimmy Buffett. We saw Kenny Chesney 2 nights in a row. We stayed at the Excalibur. I don't even remember the Excalibur having like a castle in the middle of it. I think that place was built in the 90s. There's no doubt in my mind that the castle was there. But for some reason, I remember the MGM Grand. I remember New York, New York. I remember looking at the Statue of Liberty, thinking it was like the real Statue of Liberty. I remember walking past the Eiffel Tower and being like, man, I don't know. I thought it was like a carbon copy, like right there. But I pretty much didn't leave that block. That's all I really did. I drove in, I drove out, and I think this WrestleMania is going to be, just freaking awesome. I think that Vegas is built for it. I think WWE is at the right point when they need the glamour of Vegas. That this is going to be superbly awesome. I booked the Westgate Hotel. They had a deal through WrestleCon. If you used their sign up, $109 a night. I think there's more expensive rooms. I think there's cheaper rooms up and down the strip. But for me, going to WrestleCon, I'm going to be going all 4 days. Some days longer than others. I told myself when I went to WrestleMania Access back in the day that I made a huge mistake. WrestleMania 30, I think all day Saturday. I went to all 3 sessions. I met Hulk Hogan in the morning. I think I just had a general mission in the afternoon. And then I met Ric Flair in the evening. And I told myself that really was not the way to go. Friday, I'm going to try to knock out as many people as I can. Just because I know Sunday is going to be a mess. And then I am scared about not getting to Mania in enough time. I don't really know what I'm going to do Saturday other than WrestleCon. I don't need to be at Allegiant Stadium when the doors open. I know that they have like the 2-hour pre-show that runs on Peacock that there's no matches. They haven't done matches on pre-shows in a long time. I think that makes the shows better. But I think that people get a little restless, just kind of, you can't really hear the pre-show. You're not going to like kill your phone pulling it up, to hear the interviews or to see like the things. 2 hours, long damn time for nothing to be going on. I'm going to go to the WWE World, hit the Superstore, so it's not like I'm really going there to buy a bunch of merch at the show. I'll probably, I know I saw one, like, it's like an Asian hybrid of a hamburger that I really want to get at Allegiant Stadium if it's being offered that day. They sold it at Raider Games last year. I think that's one thing that I would really search out. I hope that he remembers. I still remember having the chili cheese from the chili cheese dog at WrestleMania 27 at the George Dome stuck in my beard after I ate it, and Miguel and Ravi laughing at me. So hopefully I can find a cleaner option to be there. But I'm really excited about this trip. I can honestly tell you I haven't been on a trip in a long time. I have things that scare me, like 2 days of WrestleMania. What's it like to be there? I know that we've gone to WrestleMania. I know that we've gone to Monday Night Raw the night after. It doesn't really seem like it's anything different to go to 2 wrestling shows back to back. Now it's going to be 3 because a lot of people I don't think are doing the Monday Night Raw show, because it seems like the Raw after Mania has lost its like sizzle in the last few years. No big like returns, no debuts, people coming up from NXT or anything like that. No really big matches being named. I remember the night after 39, they did the tag match where Brock was going to wrestle Brock and Cody against the Bloodline, but then it ended up just being Brock turning on Cody, which set up the Cody versus Brock 3 stages of matches that happened over the summer. I thought that was a big deal. I can't remember Brock really wrestling on Raw other than that. So, I mean, when I was at Disneyland, hearing that was, going down, I was like, damn, I feel, really jealous that I'm missing out on that. But probably more than anything else I'm scared about is just going by myself. I know from going to WrestleMania and going to like Access, going to, Ring of Honor, going to WrestleMania, the one thing I know is that it's cool when you have your safety net of your friends to be there. You guys have your own jokes, you got your own things that you say about certain wrestlers when they come out, things like that. But the one thing I know is I'm not going to be the only person that is there flying solo at WrestleMania. Everybody is at WrestleMania for the same reason. We all love wrestling. We think wrestling is cool, especially to throw down as much money as this year's WrestleMania tickets are. I think it's easy to set yourself up. It's kind of like when you go to a basketball game. The Kings play here in Sacramento. Mostly everybody there is going to be a Kings fan. And sometimes it's fun when a 76ers fan is sitting next to you and you have somebody to go back and forth with. So, at a wrestling show, just because of the fact that I'm rooting for, Jey Uso and this guy's rooting for Gunther, doesn't mean you guys are enemies. That probably means, you guys are going to be best friends by the end of the night because of the fact you guys are going to be going back and forth so many times. And I remember one of my biggest wrestling memories is going to the Georgia Dome to see Goldberg versus Hogan, and I cheered for Hogan the whole time. The Georgia Dome, Atlanta being Goldberg's hometown at the time, there were so many Goldberg fans there. It was probably 99% to 1%, but I was gonna make sure people heard me, and they knew that I was cheering for Hogan. Didn't matter if it was to the end. And, when he got picked up for the jackhammer and everybody turned around, looked and pointed at me like, oh, you're about to lose. I took it on the chin. I knew what was coming, and I really deserved it. But, when it comes to Vegas, there's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to all up and down the map. I look at my trip, and I'm not doing the WrestleCon Super Show. I guess Kaiju Big Battle doesn't happen. I looked at going to some of the GCW events that were happening at the Palms, and I ended up not pulling the trigger on any of those shows. I think on Friday night, if my memory reminds me, I was thinking about SmackDown. I just figured that nothing was really going to happen on that show other than stare downs and then playing a couple clip videos. I think that they're still looking to pull a rating because it's right before WrestleMania, but I don't think they're going to give away any big match. I don't think anything's really going to come down to the wire. Any storylines where a match is made on Friday before Saturday. Friday they have I believe it's called the Joey Janela show, or maybe it's Spring Break, something like that. I think Joey Janela is going to wrestle against Sabu, and Sabu's last match, it's going to be a barbed wire match. Maybe I should have pulled the trigger on that, but at the same point, I was kind of thinking of doing something kind of low key because of the fact that Thursday is going to be jam packed for me. Pretty much from sun up to sundown, kind of exploring. I have WWE World, which starts at noon. I know I'm going to want to go to the Superstore. I have to go to WrestleCon, Soraya, as well as Megan Bain is only going to be at WrestleCon on Thursday, so I have to meet them too. Then I have to head over to the Palms to see the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. Then I have to go to the Nerd, which is on Fremont Street, to see Hunkamania. That's what its name was. Ziggler's and his brother's comedy show that's going to be going down. I can't really remember that many times staying up past 9 o'clock. So I'm wondering how the hell I'm going to do it. But, I'm sure that once I go there, I know that Jeremy said he's going to that show as well. Hooking up with him, hanging out, having fun. I'm sure that they will be able to do it, but I'm sure once I get back, I know that I'm going to want to just straight crash out. So maybe leaving Friday for some rest time at nighttime. That way I know that I'm up and at 'em for WrestleMania when the gates open. It sounds like a safe thing to do, but I think it's going to be a game time decision whether if I head over to the Graveyard Museum or go to one of the shows. I think once I see what's going on at the Palms, it'll help me make up my decision for what I want to do Friday. There's still a lot of tickets left available for those shows, but nobody bouncing any ideas out there for anything else to go down. But like I said, I've been looking forward to WrestleMania being in Vegas for a long, long time. Hoping that you guys are going to be there. And we'll see what's going down. I'm pumped. When I first made the decision that I was heading out to go to WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas, I got an instant moment of gratification or relief that I was finally going to be able to go to the Major Brothers Wrestling Figure Podcast live show. I've been a really big fan of the show, even though I was really late to the party. I believe when I saw that they had their 1-year anniversary of the show, something that clicked in me hey, maybe I should give this a whirl. I remember when, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins at the time were tweeting, that I think it was Kurt Hawkins tweeted one day that Matt Cardona was bugging him that they should start a toy podcast show. And I think Kurt even like kicked it down, like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I guess he just didn't kind of believe in the idea and didn't think that anybody would really listen. And then the one day when it finally launched, it was kind of like, how are they going to talk about WWE figures each and every week, and be able to keep it going? It's funny. I've gone back and I listened to all the shows that I had missed, and there was fun topics that come up along the way each and every week to get you hooked. Honestly, one of the things that got me hooked right off at the bat was, at the beginning of the show, they would have like the introduction from a wrestler. It'd be somebody like on the WWE roster or somebody that would like did one of the indies at one of the Bryan shows or something like that, or maybe they would even just like phone a friend to try to get a legend to be able to do it somewhere along the way. And then one of the first things that they would talk about is they would film, well, I guess not film, they would record the show, backstage Monday Night Raw. They would talk about what city they were in, and they would try and get memories of things that they had done in the past in that city. Sometimes like Matt Cardona had no clue, and sometimes they had great memories of being in that town and doing things in the tag division or doing things solo. And that was always one of the funnest things that I was like, man, I can't wait till they go to Sacramento and I can hear what they say about, wrestling in Sacramento. But they came up with a tagline in the show of being the most expensive free wrestling figures podcast. And it took them, honestly, a long time to get me. I'd always been a fan of the Funkos along the way. I had a pretty good collection of the WWE ones. I would kind of pick them up, one along the way, but I never really went deep into wrestling figures. I would like to look at them. I remember that was one of my favorite things when my kids got their Toys R Us money, for Christmas, and I would be able to take them to Toys R Us, and they'd be able to shop the doll section. And one of the things that they paid me back for by walking up and down the Monster High aisle back to the Barbie section, go over, look at the Squinkies and stuff like that, was like, okay, you guys got your time, you made your decision, you got your toys. Now, give me 5 minutes to look at the wrestling section. And I would get to, go up and down and look at all the stuff along the way. But I'll be honest with you, like, I never had any real big, like, throwaway money to spend on wrestling figures. But somewhere around 2019, 2020, when I kind of like feel like I got caught up in life, I had a little bit of secondary income. They got me, and they got me good, and they got me big. By this time, the WWE Retro line had come out, and it had, I think it had come out. They had put all of the figures into stores, and then it had sort of just died. The WWE Retro line was WWE's shot at making the old Hasbro toys, but coming out with the new wrestlers of today to sort of be in the same shape and size, have like the sort of like the jumping action or the body slam action where the arms moved or the hands moved. They came out with, Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose, Sheamus, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns. All of those guys got that figures. Then they gave like new figures to Ric Flair, Hollywood Hogan, to sort of give them like a fresh coat of paint to go in, to where you can mix your old figures with your new figures, because people like me who had gotten older, they were in their 40s, if they still had their wrestling collection, they could add to it. Or if, they felt bad that they didn't have their old Hasbros anymore, they would be able to buy these to replace those, and start a new wrestling collection with their fandom that they have today. I basically went on eBay and I found a lot of all of them and just was like, I don't want to piece this thing together. I just want the whole damn thing now. And that is basically what they've done. Since then, the WWE Ultimate line has come out, and for a while, I was an Ultimate completist. And, that was fun, as they were only coming out with 2 figures at a time. And then at some point, they started making the figures for the same people over. And I was kind of thinking this was the Ultimate line because this was the best figure that this person was ever going to have. I don't need a Seth Rollins figure, in the fire. And then I have another, I think it was a rainbow Seth Rollins. And that's the point when I kind of was like, oh, okay, I think I tap on buying all of them. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to, buy them. I just look at the ones that come out and I just buy. I just got the Final Boss Rock from WrestleMania 40. That was the coolest one. I'm a Solo Sikoa fan, but I didn't buy the Solo Sikoa one because I didn't really know where I was going to put them, and I was like, I've got so many other ones that I would love to display, but I don't have the spot to put them. That's kind of the spot that we're at now. But, when it comes to listening to podcasts each and every week, when I first started listening to the Major Brothers Wrestling Figure podcast, I don't even think it's Brothers is in the name, but when I first started listening, it used to be my Sunday show. It would get released Thursday night to Friday morning. They would push the button and it would go live, but I don't work Friday and Saturday, and I normally save it for the first podcast that I would start Sunday, for my get up, get ready, right into work, and then, the first little while. And then now I was looking forward to it. And then somewhere along the way, I started doing some yard work every Friday. That was my goal. And I started listening to it on Fridays. And now I don't have it on Sundays anymore because it is out there. But I found that when you listen to wrestling podcasts or any podcasts, you're not having an actual conversation with the person, but they're in your ears. You're hearing their voice. You kind of get this feeling that you know them. And, that's, I've been listening to these guys for years. To be able to give back and buy a ticket to actually go watch their live show sounds like it's going to be really, really fun. I've only seen one of them. I think it was the Orlando show. That I don't even know. It looks like it was professionally shot. They didn't upload it. They've always uploaded clips of their shows to get you excited, to make you want to go there. Shows a little bit of the highlights, but leaves enough to the mind that you're like, man, I really wish I could go to one of those. But it seemed like somebody got the whole show and they uploaded it to YouTube. And I was able to watch one of them there. I think it was the one in Orlando that Kevin Nash was at. Other than that, I really don't know. With it being at WrestleMania, where WrestleCon is, I don't know if the people in WWE are off limits, that they're told hey, don't go there, or if they'll be able to use them. But there'll be definitely people from AEW that they could bring in, or the people that are legends that are going to be featured on upcoming Big Rubber Guys that are coming out. Oh yeah, I've forgotten. I'm really into Big Rubber Guys. I'm not somebody who's going to go buy the old LJN figures. The LJNs, I don't have a fond memory of playing with, but I have a fond memory of seeing them as I was growing up. To tell you the truth, I've got a Hogan, I've got a Piper, and I think that's all the LJNs I have. The ones that are out there that I would like are just way too expensive. So to see, Matt and Brian go into the lab and come up with these Big Rubber Guys that they put out that to me look like they fit right into the LJN line, I don't mind just buying those. just like the other guys, I'm not a completist on those. I don't even really have a thing. Like, it's not like I buy them to get them signed. I buy them kind of like it's like almost like a work of art that I want to appreciate and look at. Some of them I buy, some of them I don't buy, and I think that's pretty much the way that they've said. Like this upcoming month right now, they have the Islanders, Haku. I can't remember the other guy's name. The Haiti Kid, the Texas Tornado, and there's a fourth one. I only bought the Texas Tornado one. Texas Tornado had a short life in WWF, but it was at a time period that I have like the fondest memory when he beat Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental Championship, when he was on the cover of WWF magazine, and I was like, how high is this guy gonna go? Is he gonna, win the future title? To like later in life, way later in life, finding out the secret of him, that he only had one foot because of a motorcycle accident, and is just wondering, how the hell did he do it? like that, to me, I think that he is just, just awesome. But to be able to go to the show was a goal of mine. I got a VIP ticket to where that I can do the meet and greet after the show is over. I understand that is like a big drunken experience. And you're not going to get the best autograph. I think you're going to have a fun time when you actually do the meet and greet and they're, getting those guys through. But, Broski always talks about the fact that you're not going to get the best signature out of him from the drinks that they're pouring. But I don't know. It's going to be fun. I think, a Smart Mark, I don't think has been named to be at WrestleCon yet. I think he's only coming in to do the live show. That's what he's done like the last few years, if I remember right. But I think I'm going to meet Matt and Brian at WrestleCon separately, as well as this, to make sure that I can get a really good picture with them and probably a better autograph on one of their rookie cards. But I've been looking forward to this one, honestly, for a long, long time. And that's going down Thursday at the Nerd. No, I screwed that up. I'm going to have to edit that. This is going down Thursday at the Palms. I don't know where it is going to be at the Palms. Is one of the biggest problems that I have. And I don't feel like I'm going to be able to walk in the front door and ask the first person that I see working there, where is the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast live show at? I don't think it's going to be, even though it's at the same place, I don't think it's going to be like where the wrestling matches are going to be in their arena that they have there. I don't know if it's just going to be like in a room. The thing never NWO sold out. I bought my tickets like immediately when they went out because I think they sold out so fast last year in Philadelphia. Whatever they have it in must be big. But we'll have to see what's going down. But I'm really, really looking forward to the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast live show in Vegas. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breech coming to you here today. This is going to be the first time that I get to go to the newly named WWE World. I believe it made its debut last year in Philadelphia, and it seemed like everything really changed. I know that for years when I went to WrestleMania, they did WrestleMania Access, and it was like a one chance as a wrestling fan to get close to, like, meeting the superstars, getting pictures, getting autographs. I thought that it was pretty cool that they sold those VIP tickets that were really hard to get every year, huddling around Ticketmaster, complaining that you got, the screw job because of the fact that you weren't able to get a John Cena ticket or something like that. I don't know. Now, with WWE World, being with Fanatics, this seems like a huge, huge cash grab. There's no, polite way to say it. It was like they took everything that was, positive about WWE Access, and they have found a way to cash in on it. It used to be that, you waited in a line and you would meet your favorite wrestler that was up there. If you wanted to meet like a John Cena, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, you would have to buy that premium VIP ticket. But now, like, you have to buy a picture ticket or an autograph ticket in order to meet your favorite wrestler. And the prices on those are just astronomically high. I understand that if you're a wrestling fan and you come from a long way, WWE doesn't come to your town a lot. You don't see the Cricket Wireless signings or I don't know, many other meet and greets that the wrestlers do along the way. If you don't want to, be the guy who shows up at the hotel or shows up at the airport, when are you ever going to get a chance to meet Cody Rhodes? It's just kind of like, I don't know. When I met Cody, I was lucky. I walked into him at Disneyland, and that made like my Disneyland trip so much better, that I got to shake Cody Rhodes' hands. We did the Too Sweet thing. I got a picture with him, and like I remember being like on a high that entire day. I understand, getting a chance to meet Cody would put an exclamation point on anybody's trip along the way. But it seems like now they have cashed out on anybody on the roster. I don't even really know what to expect at WWE World. If there is going to be normal lines for meet and greets for other people along the roster, I don't know if you're going to be able to go there and meet legends. I don't know. I fully expect that I just walk in there and there's almost going to be no wrestlers to meet. So that is why I'm not bringing my encyclopedia. I'm not planning on meeting anybody at WWE World. To me, the highlights of WWE World are going to be the exhibits. I saw last year, which I don't know if they're going to drag them out there again. I remember the In Your House set, being able to take a picture in front of that, being able to go up and act like you're ringing the doorbell, knocking on the door. Like Shawn Michaels is going to like come down off the roof like he's hanging the Christmas lights and yell at you like, hey, get off my lawn. And I remember the ECW set being there. ECW set in Las Vegas doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I felt like they brought it last year because it was in Philadelphia. I would love it. I would feel pretty damn cool if I got a picture with the ECW set. But I'm thinking that they're going to bring other things out there along the way. Maybe the Raw Roulette Wheel will make an appearance if they can find it in the WWE warehouse somewhere out there. I think that would be a pretty damn cool thing. Used to be like the Hell in the Cell was hanging above it. I think one year they had the elimination chamber set up around the ring, and you got to go into the elimination chamber and get a picture with somebody on the roster. That stuff's going to be cool. I think that, Tops more than likely will have some sort of a setup, and you can walk through and see the next series of Tops cards more than likely. Mattel will have like a huge setup, and they'll be like, oh shoot, I didn't know that was coming out, and you'll be able to see new things that are coming down the pike when they're making announcements about what's going on, this and that and the other. Last year, I think they actually did the Slammies live from the WWE World. I know that they had various podcasts set up and like sort of do like live shows, and they can be like, Rhea Ripley is going to be, featured at the World, and you find out that she's just on the stage talking with, I don't know, Chris Van Vliet or somebody like that doing an interview, and you're like, oh, all right, maybe you can be one of the lucky ones that's like on the rail, and as she walks by, she'll take a picture with you really fast or something like that. But to me, honestly, I'm going to the WWE World just to check it out, just to see what's going down. I just want to get my picture with a couple of the sets if they're set up, see the WWE Championship belts that they have on display. Kind of just feel that stuff out. I don't think it's going to take up a huge block of my time. I told myself off the bat, like, I'm only getting in a line to meet the Good Brothers. And guess what? They don't work there anymore. Those are like the two guys that I would have cared about, standing in a line to meet them. Pretty much anybody else it's just kind of like, it is what it is. I really enjoy WrestleCon. You get to go up and you get to actually know you're going to meet this person. It costs this much, and it is what it is. The WWE world kind of scares me because I remember standing in access lines, and then a certain time would come up, and they're like, "Oh, Rob Van Dam's time is done, and we're gonna replace him with Otis." I don't know. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but it's hard to put somebody on the same level that Rob Van Dam is. That I think that happened to us. Oh no, that happened to us the right way. We were in line to meet Caitlyn, which I really wanted to meet Caitlyn, and Caitlyn ended up having to leave and got replaced by Rob Van Dam. And a lot of people were a lot of pumped, but I was really into Caitlyn at the time. I think I'm into girls that I think can kick my ass. It's kind of what I think it is. But I think it's going to be fun. Of course, they have the WWE Superstore, which is always a hit. People are going there to try and get limited edition merch, buy some belts, autograph pictures, things like that. I want to walk through there. I think I got a lot of the merch that I really already want. I was smart. My way is I buy it on WWE Shop when it's on sale, get it delivered to the house. I know it's going to be there. The I Was There shirt, it'd be fun to get that one. I looked at some of the Wrestlemania shirts, jerseys. They went with the Vegas Knights colors, the black and gold. I was really surprised they're not using the silver and black, the Raiders colors, which I know that the Knights, I think they won the cup already, and they're a pretty good hockey team. But I think that the Raiders are a bigger brand. They're in their actual stadium. It made sense, but maybe they're going to release that at the place and not have it online yet. I saw some of the event shirts get put out, and they were kind of like, oh, that's it. Like, it was just Cena and Cody having a promo. It wasn't like a logo. It was just a picture of them. And it had some stuff on the back that looked pretty cool, but not enough to really save it. It's fun to just go to a store that looks like you're in the mall, but all they have is wrestling stuff. I would love if WWE Shop was a real store. But then again, malls are dying. You can't really have a mall store like that. So I understand why you can't just walk in there and get it. But right now, you're too late. I should have made this video 2 weeks ago and warned you. But if you don't know, there is no sales at the Superstore. There is only a premium. Shirts are either going to be the same price if you're lucky, if not $5 more. Some stuff doesn't even make sense. They're just going to charge more for it, especially the stuff that WWE and Fanatics doesn't make themselves. If it's another company bringing it in and selling it there, you're going to pay more than full price, more than likely. I remember some people saying that I think they're called Provisions shirts were marked up, and I think the Mitchell and Ness stuff was marked up to make more money. It is what it is. But they're going to make it hand over fist every time. But WWE World, I'm really looking forward to it. If you never had a chance to go to Access, it's going to be close, but I don't think it's the same thing because when it comes down to it, it's money, money, money. In the world of TKO, I don't think we're ever going backwards unless this recession that we're in just gets worse and worse and worse, and they're fighting for every dollar that they can get on these things. But right now, this is the world we're living in, and we're going to have to see what it's all about. I've said this quite a few times when talking about this WrestleMania 41 trip to Las Vegas. One of the reasons that pulled me in to want to go to one more WrestleMania trip after so many years is WrestleCon. WrestleCon to me was always one of my favorite things. One of my best memories that I have from WrestleMania 32 was the first day that we went to WrestleCon. Where they had it in Dallas. I remember you came in to a ballroom that was really, really big inside of the hotel. And then once you walked in, you had to walk down like a set of stairs. And as we were like bouncing down the stairs, I remember Ravi looking at me and just being like, "You love this, don't you? Like, this is your favorite thing that we do almost the whole week." And I really think that is true. Everybody goes in to meet and greets a little bit different. Some people go up and they treat it like they're hosting a shoot interview, and they ask some sort of like deep question that they've always wondered about, hoping that the wrestler is going to tell them like when they're returning to WWE, how they felt about a certain match, something like that. Some wrestlers, I can do that, and I really have something that I really want to talk to them about. Some wrestlers I go to, and it's just like I just want to see where it goes. When I'm, meeting that wrestler, and I kind of go in with a clean slate. I shake their hand, tell them I appreciated them, and I watch them, for a bulk of their career, and, as a real big wrestling fan, and I appreciate being able to actually meet them. And sometimes they steer where we're going to talk, what we're going to talk about. I remember going to meet Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, in my memories, is one of like the best interactions that I ever had meeting a wrestler at WrestleCon. Hacksaw, I walked up to, and as I was like getting ready, he didn't have a line. I was pulling my encyclopedia out of my backpack and trying to find him, and I was like found myself like crouched down. He started talking to me, so I stopped what I was doing, and Miguel and Ravi came around the corner as I was like bending the knee to Hacksaw. And they've always joked about that with me. And I've always been like, I was trying to give him respect because he was talking to me. I didn't want to keep doing what I was doing and have him not think that I was caring about what he was talking about. But, because he had the moment. He was asking me how long I had been a wrestling fan, where I had lived. When I told him Sacramento, he started talking about the Arco Arena, and he remembered, having a match against Andre the Giant here. He had a match against Earthquake, and I was like, I remember the match against Earthquake. I was there. And, we just started talking about that, and he asked me what I thought about, Wrestlemania, and to me, it might just be what he kind of has as like what he's going to do. I try to take it from the other side as a wrestler, how those days, must be, where you're talking to people, over and over and over again. Kevin Owens just had that tweet about doing that meet and greet at the Florida show, and he's being like hearing the same thing over and over and over and trying to act like it's the first time you've ever heard it. I mean, how often can you really just be told you're great and have like whatever? I've had a lot of like really good interactions at WrestleCon. There's been a few guys where I've just kind of like been in the line and been like, today's not the day that I'm going to meet Jake the Snake Roberts. Because he's just not caring. He's just there, signing his name and taking the money, and he's not really giving anything back. Ravi's made a video about that. I think his interaction at WrestleMania 28, getting his figure signed, was honestly horrible. Jake didn't even stop the conversation with another wrestler that he was in to meet him. So, when you're meeting the wrestlers, kind of take pace of what's going on. When you go up to guys and they have no line or a short line, they're going to be able to spend more time with that wrestler. You're going to be able to basically host your own, shoot interview, RF video style with them, and know that like sometimes if they have a longer line, they're going to be in and out because they're trying to meet as many fans as they can, and you're not going to get that moment. So many of these guys, you look at the schedule and see what they're when they're going to be there. You might have 4 days to try and meet them, and you can take pace of like, hey, maybe if I don't meet them now, just because they're at the next table, I can come back and maybe have a better experience with them, somewhere down the road. The only thing is, make sure you're looking at the schedule to see when they're going to be there. A lot of guys, when the line starts drying up, I don't think they want to be like the lonely Virgil at the show. They'll just leave and take off early and call it a day, thinking that there's no more fans to be there. So make sure you're like kind of keeping an eye contact with them, of like seeing like what's going on with them over there. But one of the reasons that I really want to go to WrestleCon more than anything else is I've been rocked by a few wrestlers that have passed away. Scott Hall, when he passed away, I have memories of seeing him wrestle. I have memories of being like really close to the ring and seeing him wrestle. I remember, seeing him in the streets of New Orleans, leaving WrestleCon, getting into a cab, and just being like, man, I saw his line at WrestleMania 31's WrestleCon, and it felt like a mile long. And I didn't get in that line just because I just didn't want to waste, the hour that it might have took when there was, so many other people to meet in the room. And I seriously regret it every single time that I think about Scott Hall now. Kevin Nash, when he started his podcast, there's no other way to put it. Kevin Nash, to me, is one of the coolest guys to ever be in wrestling. Kevin Nash, he kind of gets knocked because of the time that he had the book in WCW. It didn't really go that well. I completely understand why Eric Bischoff and WCW gave him the book, because for a good time period, Kevin Nash was the coolest guy in the room. It didn't matter if it was when he was in WWF, when he was Diesel, when he came and he brought like his own fashion sense to the name Kevin Nash, and he got away with like, putting a do-rag in his hair, or, wearing a Red Wings jersey, out to the ring. No matter what he did, I knew it was cool, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to pull it off. But I understood why he was like the biggest name in WCW to me. I started listening to his podcast because I knew that he had Sean Oliver with him, who used to do the K-Pep commentaries, and I think I liked almost all those shoots that came out with. They always carried a good conversation, had good interactions, and I remember his, sometimes they got a little dry, but like rebooking the territory was always fun. And I was like, this is going to be a good setup. And I started listening to the show, and within, it seemed like a few weeks, his son died. And, I don't know why it affected me so much. His son wasn't in the wrestling business, but I really got this like kind of thought in my mind that I was like, man, if, Kevin Nash's son died, I mean, how much longer does Kevin Nash really have? I mean, listening to the podcast, he's a pretty healthy guy. He takes care of himself. At one point, a few weeks ago, he had a plan that he was going to live to 120 years old. I don't know if that's really going to work out, but, Kevin Nash, I really was like, damn, like, I got to get there. I almost went to WrestleMania in Philly last year, to meet Kevin Nash. And, he was probably one of the main reasons why I wanted to go. I got a lot of people on my list at WrestleCon. I think I'm meeting like basically all of the headliners. Some days I'm spending more time there than not spending there. I know that Thursday I'm only going to be there for like a cup of coffee. I have a ticket to meet Saraya, who's I guess now she's not with AEW and she's thinking about going back to WWE, if you believe the tea leaves. She's only going to be there Thursday, so I have a ticket to meet her. And then Megan Bain from AEW is only going to be there Thursday as well, so I'm going to meet them two before I have to run. Friday is going to be my Iron Man session. I have a list a mile long. Honestly, in my mind, when it comes to WrestleCon, go to the site. it's not the best because they still have the button under people where the button isn't connected to anything, but they have like a pre-order link. If they have the pre-order link and you know that you're going to want to meet them, just pay for the tickets. So that way you're not having to walk around with cash. I understand from watching a lot of WrestleCon videos the last couple of years, people use the tap or people use Square to where you can use your card or pay with your phone. But you don't really want to be walking around, with $2,000 in your pocket and like basically, your hand in your pocket, hand it in your pocket. I'll tell you the truth. Like I think I live pretty much cashless. I've got a spot that I put cash in a drawer at my house when I have it. And I kind of only have it in my pocket when I go to like baseball card shows. But I find myself when I go to the baseball card shows, I'm like constantly putting my hand in my pocket to make sure the money's still there. I just, gotten so used to paying with my card. I pay with my phone 9 out of 10 times, it seems like these days, with the Apple Card. But that's the one thing I would recommend. Just go there, do that. I know that, basically all of the headliners, I think I'm meeting Tony Storm is there on Sunday. Ronda Rousey is there on Saturday. I think Sting is going to be there Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, he's the Wolfpack Sting. Sunday, he is the Black and White. I almost called him the NWO Sting, even though he never was. But he's going to be there. I saw that picture with him in that big-ass goatee. That kind of was like, okie dokie. When it comes to it, I'm meeting people that were all up and down the card. The people that didn't get named for this year's WrestleCon, at least as of yet, Tony Schiavone was somebody that I really wanted to meet. Jeff Jarrett was somebody I really, really wanted to meet. I don't know if AEW has something going on, and they're running a show, them not being there. Colt Cabana's not there, as well. But, there's a ton of people. Doesn't matter, past WWE/WWF, TNA guys, AEW people are really surprised that those people are showing up. But, get my chance to meet Danhausen, and, I don't know. WrestleCon to me is going to be a ton of fun. I'm not doing the Super Show this year. It really seems like the Super Show is kind of has the WrestleCon name on it, but it kind of seems like it's not doing it anymore. I had it early on as like, I am going to go to this show. I'm gonna buy tickets, and then as waiting for tickets to go on sale, I think I looked up the past few Super Show cards. And being all like, oh, it's not really what it used to be. It seems like it's now more indie guys and guys that I just don't know. And I don't even know if there's anybody on that show named that I'm really a fan of or know much about anyway. So I don't know. It was always one of the highlights of the whole trip. But WrestleCon to me is one of the main reasons why I'm going to WrestleMania. I know that, when we didn't get WrestleMania tickets, that was one of the main reasons why I was like, I'm still going. No matter what, I know even if I don't get Mania tickets, I need to go to this WrestleCon show because, I don't know. I've always looked at StarCast the same reason. I just got to get there. I got to cross a lot of big names off of my list that I want to meet that I think are going to be big stars or affected me as a wrestling fan in the past. And just, get those pictures. I'm going to get cards, like wrestling cards, signed. I got a bunch of them, to get them out there. To me, honestly, I'm not the biggest autograph guy. There was a time when I loved getting figures signed, and then those figures kind of like, disappear to the back of your collection because you can't have all of them on display. I would love if all of these pops were gone so I could display more things. It seems like these shelves are just pops just shoved in there. You don't even really get to see them. So we'll see, what's going on with that. But that'll be cool. All right. WrestleCon. 2 thumbs up. This year's WrestleMania 41 Hall of Fame class is a serious change to what we have seen in the past from past WrestleMania classes. Normally, we've seen almost 10 WWE wrestlers / groups / tag teams go into the Hall of Fame, whether it's why they're at their end of their career or once they have been passed away as part of their legacy wing. This year, it seemed like they really trimmed down what they were doing, but they've also gone back to their roots and basically made the WWE Hall of Fame its own event, standing off to the side. If you remember back to the start of the King of the Ring pay-per-view, the King of the Ring pay-per-view was actually the birthplace of the Hall of Fame class. The first ever Hall of Fame was just Andre the Giant. That was it. And each year, when the King of the Ring came around, they named somebody into there and just had a solo group. They would normally have a ballroom in the city that the King of the Ring was going to be in and hold some sort of a presentation. It reminds me a lot of what the TNA Hall of Fame banquets were like back in their day. As much as people made fun of those events, with the wrestlers paying to attend, as well as the fans to sit around, eat dinner, and then listen to a few speeches. That was the roots. I think that the Hall of Fame really changed WrestleMania 20 when it was at Madison Square Garden, and it honestly really felt like they let anybody in. But then each year, they still had main event guys in order to put in. I mean, you had Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 21. I can remember Ric Flair going in at WrestleMania 24. I believe Dusty Rhodes, as well as Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 25. And their way really worked. This year, with them going back to not doing the Hall of Fame after SmackDown, they have their own official hotel for Las Vegas. It's funny that they didn't announce this is the official hotel when the original tickets for WrestleMania were going on, thinking of hey, I'll stay at the official hotel when I go to WrestleMania. I think this, they rented out a place to have the Hall of Fame. They have these dance clubs, WrestleMania After Dark. They have a comedy show, the WrestleMania Roast, that popped up. I think they had an opportunity. They felt like they hadn't made enough money. Now they wanted more. I stopped going to the WWE Hall of Fame the year of WrestleMania 31 in Santa Clara. Honestly, it was just kind of I'll say this. It was it felt like it was a real honor to be in the arena when guys like Shawn Michaels, Edge, Scott Hall, Jake the Snake Roberts got put in to the Hall of Fame. There was some real big moments in there. The way that I got chills during the Scott Hall speech, especially when it ended. And he says, bad guys do. And you're oh, and then he had the click moment of all the guys coming out there and sharing the stage with them one more time. But there was also a lot of down moments. I wasn't there, but Hillbilly Jim had the longest speech of all time. Mr. T going on and on and on. I'll give it to you like this. You're going and going and going, doing, access, going from here to there, doing a lot of events, WrestleMania weekend, and then you go to an arena and you sit there and you listened to wrestlers give speeches. I went to college for 2 days. Honestly, I signed up, and then I went back the next day and I signed out. So I don't really know what it's like going to a college classroom and hearing your teacher lecture on a topic for 2 hours, and you're supposed to listen and write notes and I guess get ready for a test or something like that. But that's the closest thing that I could feel. But at the same time, the lights are dimmed. It's dark. You're trying to give them your attention so you're not playing on your phone, looking at things like that. So I've seen people fall asleep at the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's just the God's honest truth. Doesn't matter who is up there, but it is what it is. So I kind of told myself I wasn't going to go to the Hall of Fame. I've watched a few of them on TV when they were on the WWE Network. I remember Goldberg. I remember Kurt Angle. The Goldberg one sticks out in my mind because that was the one you really saw people leave. And I don't know if it was because it was later in the day. I don't know if it was that wrestlers, didn't respect, didn't like Goldberg. He hurt people. It didn't seem like he really cared about the wrestling business. But that was the first one where the place, gutted out. The Hall of Fame this year starts at 9:30 p.m. That's scary. Normally on the Wrestlemania schedule, pretty much the only thing that starts on time is Wrestlemania and Monday Night Raw. Almost anything else, they push back the start time a little bit because they're waiting for people to get from one thing to another. Maybe because of the fact that they're going to be showing this on Peacock / Netflix / the WWE Network in places of the world that still has the WWE Network. I wish we were one. That maybe they're going to have to start at a certain time because that's what time the show starts. I don't know if they're going to do like the wrestling roll call where all of the wrestlers come in and they try to do a pre-show and then interviewed by Marissa Menendez or the girl from, I don't even remember what show she was on. Is she on Extra? One of those. But, she would do them a lot. And then have like Kelly out there talking to the people. But this year's class is a special class to me because Triple H is being inducted. It was not enough for me to buy a ticket. I looked at the tickets and they were freaking expensive. That's the God's honest truth. And honestly, once I found out what the time was, I was really scared about being up really late. And then having to go to WrestleMania, not only the next day, but the day after that. And I didn't want to set a precedence where I'm not getting a lot of sleep and I'm going to be, borderline falling asleep during WrestleMania. WrestleMania is a really special time, but there's only so much time in a day. And even though I love Triple H, I couldn't press the button to buy that ticket. Plus, I still don't understand, like, they have the T-Mobile Arena, which is on the south end of the strip. You have SmackDown. Triple H is in charge of creative. I have no doubt that he's going to run the show. Is he going to leave somebody else in charge to basically leave and get ready? I know that him and Lex Luger are doing like a meet and greet before the Hall of Fame for special people that paid, for the special VIP tickets. I don't know how many people there are. If there's 100, 200, if there's 10, if there's 15, and it's not going to take that much time, but he's probably going to have to change and get into like a tux or something like that. So I'm just wondering how he's going to get from the south end of the strip to the north end of the strip at the busiest time of night, and be able to be there and be ready. No doubt in my mind, he's going to be the Hall of Famer. You've got Michelle McCool, not the top woman to go into the Hall of Fame. I don't really think that, somebody pulled favors there and, is doing a lot of things for WWE and said that you have to induct my wife. But I do have question marks every year that a woman's name gets named and it's not Mickie James. I don't really understand, especially with Mickie James doing things for the company right now, but she's gonna get the call. It just honestly hasn't happened yet. Lex Luger, a really big name, not a definite Hall of Famer, a guy that did his time in the NWA, was a big name in WCW, was a main eventer for WWF. He had his run from the late 80s all the way until, the day that WCW closed. He started working independents. I believe he had a stroke in like 2002. and that's when his wrestling career ended. As well as being there for the Hall of Fame, he's going to be doing WrestleCon. So that is pretty cool to be able to meet a Hall of Famer that week. But, for the last 2 years, I've been really thinking, why was Lex Luger not in the Hall of Fame? Was it because of that WWE Confidential show that they did that was really negative on him, and they felt like they really had to stand their morals, where they basically were pointing the figure like, you're the reason why Miss Elizabeth died, that they weren't putting him in there? But I'm ecstatic that he's going in there. I mean, you think about, during the WCW Monday Night War days, he was the guy who defeated Hollywood Hogan. He was like the first guy to beat the NWO, even though he lost. He won it on a Monday, lost it on a Saturday. He was the first guy to take the championship away from the NWO. He had his run with the Wolfpack where I really felt like he took like a back seat. He like moved down the card, that he was never really able to get back up. He was a main event guy, but he wasn't high on the main event list. I can't even really think of him having any main event matches after his run in the Wolfpack. But, you think about him and Brett, WrestleMania 10, there was only one spot for one champion, one top guy. And it looked like Lex was going to do it. He came out and did like the Superstars taping with the WWF Championship, something that they were taping for after WrestleMania. Made a lot of people think that he was going to win it. But he got his run in the business, and that's good. I feel really bad about the natural disasters. I don't know if it was a fake post that like a bad internet wrestling fan made, but the rumor ran rampant that the natural disasters were going to be named to the WWE Hall of Fame. To this date, they still really don't have a graphic card with them on it. I don't think that it was supposed to be them that got in. I'm stuck on that. I want Demolition to be in the Hall of Fame. They finally got a Legends deal. I thought that they were going to go in this year. I don't want to come out like sour grapes. The natural disasters don't deserve to be, put in there. But I don't know. It just it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to go in. I think that they're big names. John Tenta was a Hall of Famer in my mind with his run, in 1990 against, Hulk Hogan when he made it at SummerSlam. Tugboat was right there in his corner. Them together, I think they won the WWF Championship once. I remember their match against the Legion of Doom. I don't have a ton of memories of them, but being able to put both of them in there at the same time, I'm not going to be kicking rocks about it, but I almost feel like some sort of like wrestling meme ran rampant. They felt sorry, and they put him in because I don't know, it just doesn't really fit. They put their first match in, Brett versus Austin. In my opinion, it's not the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. It's not the biggest match of all time. I honestly felt like at the time that it was, it's a damn good match, but I felt like it was a way to get Austin and Brett in the Hall of Fame, to be able to say that they're going to be there. The biggest match of all time, even though it's not the best match, is Hulk and Andre. Hulk, a lot of negative press. People, he walks out there, they're going to boo him. Everybody has their own reasons on why they think that's going to happen. I think that Hulk makes the most sense to induct the natural disasters. Hulk never had a match against them, but in storyline, the Hulk versus Earthquake match is huge. Tugboat was supposed to be his friend. People didn't say that Tugboat was supposed to stab Hogan in the back, and that was supposed to be the main event of WrestleMania 7. Before Sergeant Slaughter, came along. Who knows how that really would have turned out. But even today, they named 3 wrestlers for the Legacy Wing. None of these wrestlers are going to be able to be in attendance at WrestleMania this year. But Kamala, Dory Funk Sr., and Ivan Koloff. When it comes to Dory Funk Sr. and Ivan Koloff, I honestly don't really have anything to say about them. I know that there are names in the wrestling business. I never saw them wrestle. I honestly was thinking that Ivan Koloff was the guy from WCW, that had the matches with Flair and Dusty, and I was like, oh, that's not him. My bad. Kamala, say what you want to. The guy has two of the most prized wrestling figures in most wrestling people's collections. He's got an LJN. He's got one of the most rarest Hasbros. I can remember my memories of Kamala matches is him versus The Undertaker. I remember him in the Dungeon of Doom in the Hulkamania glory days of WCW when they were just bringing in Paspos to be there. I've read stories, I've heard interviews talking about that Kamala was one of the best opponents for Hulk Hogan on house shows. It was during a run when they could do nothing wrong and they could sell every ticket in every house, and people say that Kamala was one of the reasons why people were coming in to do it. I've heard a lot of interviews talking about how Kamala came up. He was a truck driver. And said he wanted to get into the wrestling business. They had this idea. They shot the vignettes in Jerry Lawler's backyard of his house and made it seem like they were they made it seem like they were in the forests of Africa. Those three guys going to the Hall of Fame, I think is going to be awesome. It'd be awesome for their families. All three of them, you think they make three figures for them? I don't really see a line of Kamala figures or Ivan Koloff figures. Maybe they'll put him in the video game, something like that. But I don't know. That's the Hall of Fame class. That's the long and short of it. I mean, you're going to have Triple H, Michelle McCool, Lex Luger, Tugboat / Typhoon, Austin, and Brett will come out on the stage at WrestleMania. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's probably the reason why they're doing it. This year's WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas is going to be a banger. I mean, there was times when I was riding high on the product, and I'll tell you the truth, I started believing the tea leaves, and I got a little bit scared about maybe this year's WrestleMania wasn't going to have the WrestleMania that we all thought was going to be going down. We were all wondering, who was Cody going to have a match with at this year's WrestleMania? Was it going to be Roman? Were they going for a three-peat? Run it back one more time? Was CM Punk finally going to get his WrestleMania main event? The John Cena rumor was coming out and running strong. But there was a time period. I think a lot of people were down on WWE after the WrestleMania pre-sale. They found out that, what TKO was going to be doing with the company, and that is basically, we are going to make as much money as we can. And WrestleMania tickets at a premium this year were out of hand expensive. Just huge. There's no doubt in my mind that WWE is going to come out on Monday during Monday Night Raw, maybe even some sort of a press release on Tuesday, bragging about how much money they brought in to the city of Las Vegas, how much money they made themselves. They found a way to blow this up and make it bigger than anything I can ever imagine. But when you're charging $1,000 to sit in the highest section of a football stadium, I think it's out of hand. I think that honestly, they got to give WrestleMania back to the people. I know that there's dads out there that want to take their sons and daughters to see WrestleMania. I bet there's people who live in the city of Las Vegas. They just cannot afford to go to WrestleMania, even though it's not really that far out of the way. It's in their hometown. There are no $25, $50 seats. There's nothing out there that's really affordable. But when you put that aside and you just look at what WWE is running out there, I think at this point there's 10 matches named for WrestleMania. Am I going to lie to you and tell you that all 10 of those matches are bangers? No. But I can honestly tell you off the top of my hand, I think there's 6 matches that I honestly really care about. And even though I am really scared about the fact that I've never been to a 2-day WrestleMania, where basically like you go to the show, it ends, there's a long intermission, and then you come back the next day, and you have to be geared up for another year of WrestleMania. I can honestly tell you a lot of Monday Night Raws that I've shown up to where I'm out of voice. Like, I got nothing left in the tank. So I don't know if I have to like prepare myself for like some matches where I'm fake cheering and I'm not yelling for wrestlers during their entrances. That's one of the things that I'm gonna have to worry about, is like how the heck I'm gonna be able to do it. I think they knocked it out of the park. When it comes down to it, Roman Reigns versus Cody might have been one of the sexiest main events that they could have put on the stage for WrestleMania 41. Cody, basically your John Cena of today, your white meat baby face, could do no wrong, goes out and wrestles each and every night. Doesn't matter if it's Raw, SmackDown, house show, pay-per-view, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. He's going to be there. He's going to put his body on the line. It doesn't matter if he's hurt, he's injured, he's sick. He's going to put the championship on the line. He is a wrestler's wrestler, doing it the right way. You got to give it up to him for that. Roman is basically your movie star. He's, got the company, through the last, we'll say 4 to 5 years. With the company on his back. So many people, they didn't like that babyface run of him being the makeshift John Cena, where people just, booed him out of the arena. They wanted him to turn heel. They wanted him to turn heel. They wanted him to turn heel. He finally turned heel, and it was everything that people promised. He was going to be the biggest star of the company, and people were going to love him, even though they hated him at the same time. But they chose to go in a separate direction. John Cena, he came out at Money in the Bank last year in the summer and basically said that it's time. He's going to put his career out there, and he's going to say that this next year is going to be than this last year. I think that when he was in the ring, maybe he delivered the promo wrong, maybe he slipped on the tongue, but he said this year's WrestleMania is going to be his last WrestleMania. There were so many people who thought until the post-show press conference that he was retiring at WrestleMania, and that was going to be his last show. It just is what it is. But for Cena to be in the main event, wrestling against Cody, that is it. That is all I need. I almost didn't even really need the heel turn. The heel turn made sense when Cena came out and he started, going at the people who bashed him, the people who loved him, just basically going at everybody. So there would be like no stone unturned. Cena hates everybody right now. He just, is fed up with the way people have treated him his entire career. No matter what he gave, it wasn't enough. And they always just tried to push and take more. People said that, when he turned, it would be different. He would have a different theme. He'd wear different gear. And he's like, you get nothing. But you think about that match, Jey Uso, to me, I think is one of the most over guys in the company. They lost me for a minute, God honest truth, but they were able to pull it back and get the title reigns, back onto to where the match made sense. He looked Gunther in the face and said that he was scared of him, but he ain't scared no more. Like, bring it. And you could see like Gunther's face change, that he's like, he doesn't have the advantage over Jey. I think that's why he started the 10 weeks of hate. And he was just choking him out, just trying to be the bigger, better bully. And Jey Uso needs to show up to WrestleMania and just not be like like the Logan Paul with one lucky punch whole deal. He needs to draw back and he needs to punch the bully in the face and knock that bull out. When you look at, Reigns, Punk, and Rollins, I'm not the biggest fan of three-ways. It seems like three-ways happen each and every year at WrestleMania. I think that, this way to put their 3 biggest stars in there, is a really big match. It deserves the main event Saturday night. I'm not the biggest fan of calling them WrestleMania main eventers when they main event night 1 and night 2. But it seems like that is what WWE tries to treat them as. But I think they're too locked in. At this point, Randy Orton is looking for somebody. I heard it on a podcast today that they thought that Nick Aldis, the GM, the former Magnus from TNA, should get the match. I understand you're looking for something you need to stand in. The GM, to me, isn't the guy that I would put out there. I would look at a guy like Carmelo Hayes. Does not make a lick of fucking sense. But I think Carmelo Hayes is going to be a big star in this business. I think he has to, take his licks because WWE is not really good at elevating people from NXT to the main roster and giving them a place to go. Every once in a while, a guy will come in and have, a little bit of a run. But then you can almost see it like clockwork. All of a sudden, one day, they're like, oh, we don't have anything else for you. And you just start not appearing on Raw, not winning matches on Raw. And you're at the bottom of the barrel and you're looking for something. And you're probably pitching ideas and this, that, and the other. But even if Carmelo loses, I think that it would be awesome for him to be on the card. Other than that, it'd be tough to have it make sense. But you guys got guys like The Miz, a former 2-time WWE champion. He doesn't have a match at WrestleMania. R-Truth, a guy who's been around almost as long as anybody. He doesn't have a match at WrestleMania. I don't know. Orton's just kind of screwed. It might end up being just some sort of segment that turns into a fight and somebody getting hit with an RKO. I don't know if you use A-Town Under. Is that them? They do a Waller effect with Austin Theory, and maybe he RKOs both of them. That ended up might being it. He just might have thrown the short stick, but with Kevin Owens getting injured, I mean that's a big loss for WWE, and especially to find out that close to WrestleMania, honestly, really sucks. I got heated up to the Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair match. I think that one is going to be really good. I'm looking for Tiffany to get the win there, but after what happened with them hurling insults at each other on SmackDown, that better be a fight and not a wrestling match. I want to see some hair pulling. I want to see some face slapping. I don't want to see any lockups. I don't even really want to see a moonsault. I don't want to see flippy things in the ring. I want to see a punching and kicking match from these two girls that, you got one of them saying that, she's 0-3 in life because of her divorces. That one hit hard against me. And then also, you've got, Charlotte saying that the other girl's boyfriend is DMing her on the side. That's just, beyond the point of cool. But Braun Breaker is going to be featured in his first WrestleMania. I'm really pumped for that. That guy is a star. And I mean, I would have given that guy the Money in the Bank briefcase after that huge spear on Carlito on Monday. That was just awesome. Seeing Finn Balor, one of my, favorite wrestlers that got me through a dark time in the wrestling business. I'm not going to say that all of his stuff during my dark time was great. I got mad when he was fighting for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, but I think he was wrestling against guys like Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, in these multi-man matches, but I just was yelling at my TV at the time. This guy is a star. Why are you not treating him like one? Just one of those things that doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know. I would love to see whatever's going on with the Judgment Day happen, and then I have hopes that it's going to make him a bigger star. And even if Braun loses this match, I see him getting elevated up the card. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But being featured on your first WrestleMania, that's freaking huge. In my mind, you've got a women's tag team match that's going to be named. I think that we're going to have the New Day versus the War Raiders named. So we're going to have matches that I'm not saying the match is going to come up and it's just going to be I'm going to the bathroom. or I'm going to the soda, get a soda. I think that if I need to do those at that time, I'm not going to be 100% worried that I'm missing anything, because it is kind of like just like a Raw match on a big stage, and every show has to have a few matches like that. It is what it is, but we'll have to see. WrestleMania 41, I'm pumped. This isn't any big prediction video or anything like that. It's just saying, like, damn, this is gonna be fun. WWE Monday Night Raw. We're looking at April 21st, 2025, coming to you live from Las Vegas. This is going to be the exclamation point on the top of WrestleMania. This is going to be the end of the WrestleMania week. I used to talk a lot about my WrestleMania trips where I talked about, like, it was kind of like you come home from the Hall of Fame on Saturday, and even though, like, tomorrow is WrestleMania, it is the moment of the trip, why you were there. It is the biggest point of, like, the biggest matches all set, but, like, this moment of, like, sadness falls over you because you've fallen over that halfway point of your trip, and you realize that it's almost over. I know that when I went to WrestleMania, I got to hang out with Ravi, with Luke, with Mike, with Zach, with Miguel, you know, and, like, it would be like an entire year until you got to see them again. I know that, like, when I went to Ravi's wedding in Toronto and I saw Miguel, I told him, like, the moment I saw him, I cannot believe that I haven't seen you in 8 years. For the longest time, like, me, Ravi, and Miguel, we felt like we were like this. It was almost like, you know, any big show that we went to, the other one was going to be there, and then all of a sudden it just fell apart and it slipped away, and we didn't really know that was going. Monday Night Raw was always a fun thing to go to. The Raw after Mania, it seemed like it kicked off, like, the next year of WWE, almost like it was the first day of the season. And I think that's what everybody hopes for, whether it's going to be, you know, some sort of, like, debut, some sort of return. Brock Lesnar returning after WrestleMania 28. Cena had just had, like, the biggest match of his life against The Rock. He didn't get the job done, and you got to be wondering, like, what is next in the cards for John Cena. Brock just comes up and just kills him, left him laying right there in the ring. How many, like, Monday Night Raws did you see Cena get killed to the point where you're just like, I don't know what is going to happen? But, you know, Brock was one of those guys that you put in the long list of Bruno Sammartinos, you know, Randy Savages, the guys that just fell out with the company that you thought they were never ever going to return, and boom, there he was. And I mean, like, it wasn't just like a here today, gone tomorrow. He had like a 10-year run with the company where he wasn't there all the time, but he was there when they needed him, and he was in, like, most of the big matches on most of the big shows because he was one of the biggest names that they had. This year at the Raw after Mania, I think more than anything, I'm looking forward to seeing you know, John Cena with the championship, having some sort of, like, a championship party where he can basically say that he's done it, and that he is the champion, and he can do his whole spiel of being the last real world champion, and that he has taken this belt. He's going to go back to, where does he live? Orlando. And he's going to basically sleep with that championship for the rest of his career, and that we're never going to see it again. I'm really looking forward to Cena having a run of not showing up with the championship. I think that that's really going to help WWE create and guide stars along the way. You go back to after WrestleMania, I guess that was on the road to WrestleMania 31. In between 30 and 31, when Brock was the champion, we went a long time, you know, between SummerSlam and the next year's WrestleMania, when Brock just was not around. And Seth Rollins won the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he was always, yelling about he was going to cash in and become the next champion. The only problem was Brock wasn't there for him to cash in against. And, he came out there, and I don't think they really put the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line a lot, but I do think that, the matches were created around him being the Money in the Bank guy, and it was almost like the championship became the Money in the Bank briefcase, and that's almost what everybody was fighting for on Monday Night Raw. If they could do something like that, maybe they can do some sort of somebody coming out. As of right now, Randy Orton, he doesn't have a match at WrestleMania. Maybe if Orton doesn't have a match at Mania, he emerges from the shadows. I know that he's a SmackDown guy and not a Raw guy. But if Orton was able to come out and, be the guy to challenge John Cena for the championship for an upcoming show, I don't think that Orton versus Cena is like the biggest match that WWE can put out. I think that people would really want to see a Cena versus Cody 2 after that, but I think that's something that they're going to have to wait on because of the fact that I don't think you want Cody to keep losing matches for as long as they want the Cena run to happen. But I think it would cross a match off the list that I think a lot of people are wanting to see. I think a lot of people have memories of, Cena versus Orton, and although it seemed like they fought every Monday Night Raw, every SmackDown, every pay-per-view for years, I think that people are nostalgic for it, and they would want to see what's a 2025 Cena versus Orton match, one more last time. And that would be something fun. Braun Breaker, I think, is somebody that has a good chance of going into WrestleMania as a champion, but losing it. I mean, I guess if you really break it down, it's Scott Steiner style. He only has a 25% chance of winning this match because there being 4 people in his Intercontinental Championship match. And if he loses the title, does he sulk in it, or does he just post his eyes on going after Jey Uso, who I think is going to be your World Heavyweight Champion at the time, and knowing that he's beat, Jey Uso for the Intercontinental Championship in the past, why not go after the World Heavyweight Championship and elevate yourself up the card? I think that's a really strong match that has a history, and it would make sense, him moving up so fast. I mean, I think he had a lot of fans, but I think that after him killing Carlito on Monday Night Raw, I really think that that's going to make that, go up the card even more. Finding out what is going down with Rhea, Bianca Belair, as well as, Io Sky. That's going to be something that it makes you want to follow. I know that they're not doing a Raw shakeup or, moving people around as of right now. With them being called free agents and being able to sign how they want to, but definitely something involving Jade and Naomi with Bianca Belair. You would think that if Bianca wins this match, she's going to be heavily featured on Raw. So does the whole storyline come with it, or is the storyline just done? Because I'm thinking that Jade is going to, finish off Naomi, and then that's going to roll into her going right after Bianca and her being moved up the card. So that seems like fun stuff. I know that with Raw being on the West Coast this time of year, with the clocks moved back, I don't think it's going to be daylight when, it's all said and done. I think that, leaving Monday Night Raw, people are going to empty out into the streets, whether that means they're going to go all the way back down to Fremont Street, or people will kind of walk the strip all the way back to their hotels. I think there might be a big time party atmosphere out of Monday Night Raw. I know that a lot of people will have to get back to their hotels to pack and get all their stuff miraculously back into their suitcases with their handfuls of merch and bags of stuff that they have bought. But I have a morning flight leaving on Tuesday, but it's not the first flight out on purpose because I want to make sure that I soak up every moment that I can. I know that Monday is like the biggest free day that I have before Raw, and I know that I'm going to be wanting to cross off a lot of things off my list that I haven't hit yet. I'm guessing the doors will probably open 3:30 to 4. Show starts at 5. No, it'll probably start like 4:30. They're gonna tape something for like main event or something like that. So maybe doors open at 3. But still, you'll have time in order to sleep off WrestleMania night 2, and then be able to get out and then hit a few things. I just want to make sure that all the sights will be seen, all the roller coasters will be rid, and we're gonna have fun. But this night, you know, the Raw after Manias, they haven't been like the best the last few years. But I'm really hoping that this one right here is going to be a change of pace, and they're going to want to get back to making this must-see for anybody that goes to a WrestleMania city, where if it's New Orleans the next year, or what. But we'll see. Monday Night Raw. Let's go. I wanted to end this string of videos that I'm going to be uploading today about my WrestleMania 41 trip. Just talking about WrestleMania 42. I stepped out and told myself that I was going to go to Las Vegas to go to WrestleMania 41. And I kind of told myself that I was going to go on this trip no matter what. I talked a little bit about it in the WrestleCon video. Lately, there's been like some deaths in the wrestling business that have affected me because there were people that I watched, you know, when I was a child and I was growing up. And not to get too dark, but, you know, I'm getting older myself. I believe I'm like 42 or 43 years old, somewhere in that window. But, you know, we're all not going to, you know, be around forever. And, you know, once like it closes on a wrestler, like you're never going to have a chance to meet somebody. I was like, damn. I almost went to WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. It would have been a lot of fun. I was really following the Cody Rhodes storyline, but not as much as this year. I mean, I didn't even barely make any wrestling videos last year, and I sort of kicked myself into high gear when I knew it was going to be real, when they announced the Las Vegas was going to be getting WrestleMania, and Rabi and Miguel told me that they were going to come and we were all going to be together. I'm not throwing any stones at anybody, but it just did not happen. I know that we came to the WrestleMania pre-sale and we were going to buy tickets, and then they just astronomically kept getting higher and higher and higher. And I think we came to the WrestleMania pre-sale thinking that we were going to the people that sat in the 400s. We wanted to be a part of WrestleMania, but I think that we didn't want to pay an arm and a leg. And immediately we were already priced out of where we wanted to sit at. So they're not going to be coming. Then immediately is named New Orleans. WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans was easily one of the best trips at the best point in my life that I would definitely go back to New Orleans with Rabi and Miguel and try and soak up what was WrestleMania 30. I understand that it would be a different card. I really hope that WWE would still be knocking it out of the park a year later. You got to be thinking that, you know, bigger and better names will be coming, but you got to hope that they're going to be able to continuously be doing the writing and the kind of storytelling that they're doing right now. So many times you see ups and downs in the business. But right now, wrestling is pretty freaking hot. If we sit down at the table for New Orleans and the the want to go is not as strong from them as it is for me. I'm not planning on buying a solo ticket to go to New Orleans and do it. I'm more than happy with WrestleMania 41 being my retirement trip that I've seen it all. I've done it all. I'm not going to have regrets 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road that I didn't do one more WrestleMania. I can watch every WrestleMania on Peacock for the rest of my life if I need to. The one thing that I can't do is have trips with my friends. It's pretty hard. When you think about this, Rabbi and Miguel are two of the best friends in the world that I have. Going to that wedding, hanging out with Ryan and Mike. It was supposed to be, a few more names than that, and it just didn't come to be. But we had so much fun, and it was basically like no time had really passed in between. But a long time happened. I saw Rabbi 4 years ago at 2020. Mike, I've been to his house. We went to the Blink-182 show. I believe that was last year. So I see Mike and I talk to Mike a lot, but those are things I can't get back. So if Rabbi and Miguel come, I'm all for it. New Orleans is one hell of a city to see, a wrestling town. It's one of those places that like you get a shuttle / Uber from the airport. You're not going to need to rent a car. You're going to be able to pretty much walk the city. I got a taxi to take me to Access because of the fact that it was like down the street and it was 5 a.m. I think when I was leaving, maybe 6 a.m. But it was dark and I was tired. I just didn't want to. But I mean, I easily could have made that 15-minute walk down the street. WrestleCon, I think, would have to go somewhere else other than I think it was called like the Sugar Mill or something like that. That place was just too small, no AC. It almost was borderline like a warehouse, I think is what it was. But it was at least across the street from Access, down the street from the hotels. The Drury, still to this day, is one of the nicest places that I've ever stayed. I'll tell you this much. I love wrestling. I love the wrestling business. At this time, like I'm not like negative on AEW. It's just there. Some of the biggest negatives I have watching AEW is the fact that like when I watch their pay-per-views, they pretty much feel like they go into the next day. I almost feel like they'd be unwatchable if I lived on the East Coast. Being on the West Coast 3 hours earlier, I still feel like I'm going to bed too damn late. And I understand that like these aren't the WWE Network. This isn't Peacock. People are actually throwing down $50 to be able to give them a long series of matches. You feel like you get your money's worth at the end of the day. I don't know. I'm looking at WWE style right now where they have less matches on these shows on Peacock. Most shows have 4 to 5 matches. WrestleMania is going to be a little bit different. It seems like they're going to have about 7 matches a night. And that's only like a one-time deal. SummerSlam was a little bit longer, but it didn't even seem like it was a marathon. I felt like I was going to bed at a good, decent time. But who knows what could happen? I mean, WWE could slip on a rock and AEW could catch fire. They got one hell of a roster there. They just got to figure something out. But one of the main reasons why I would say that I'm only looking forward to go to New Orleans if my friends go, honestly, is money. I mean, there's no other really way to say it. Some people are saying that they think it's a Vegas thing. That's why things are more expensive. I'm looking at, how expensive things are, but WWE keeps announcing things. I understand you want to have a lot of options for people to go to. They have their own, like, WWE nightclub that they're going to have. They're going to have their own comedy show. They're going to have the Hall of Fame, SmackDown, WrestleMania, Monday Night Raw, WWE World, the Superstore. So they want to make as much money as they can, but like the ticket prices are just outrageous. And not only for WrestleMania, for everything else along the line, even the meet and greets with wrestlers at the WWE World. I'm at a good place in my life where I'm, doing well, I guess you can say. I had a lot of expendable income when WWE, my wrestling YouTube videos were hitting really well. They're not doing that anymore. I pretty much do this for myself to have fun and get things off of my chest and out there into the world. People watch it. They watch it. There's people out there who told me they've watched me since 2010. And I appreciate everybody for being there. But to be pouring my money / my family's money into this is something that I can't really chase anymore. I mean, like if WWE came to Santa Clara again, which the Super Bowl is going to be in Santa Clara, and there's no secret that WrestleMania likes to follow where the Super Bowl was. They don't do it every year, but they do it a lot of years. That, maybe Santa Clara would host another WrestleMania. I am not even 100% sure I would want to go to that, because I don't live close enough to Santa Clara not to get a hotel, to think that I'm going to have to get a hotel for at least 3 to 4 days, with 2 days being for the WrestleMania show, the WrestleMania prices being just exorbitant, and then kind of wondering, what else, So it is what it is. I said this a long time ago in my videos that, I made my videos at WrestleMania for people to watch, and people really enjoyed them. I still get comments on them today that I'm getting ready for, to go to my first WrestleMania. So I'm watching the Click 30 video where I made it into a movie. It's like a 2-hour long YouTube video. I've never gone in there and fixed the ads, so I'm hoping that like 1,000 ads don't play during it. I said in those that I'm not going to go to WrestleMania forever. And I need fans out there that appreciated these videos to know that going to WrestleMania is, a goal. You're able to do that. I thought it was really, really fun. Mike, HBK fan 25, when he came to WrestleMania 31, because he was one of those, I sound creepy, when he was one of my like young fans that started watching my videos in 2010, 2011, that, loved wrestling, probably watched me, Miguel's, and Ravi's videos and was like, man, I wish I could do that one day. And he actually got to do it. And he wasn't even out of high school. He was in high school. He was supposed to be at high school the day we went to Monday Night Raw. We were at the boardwalk. And I was like, take a picture of the beach right now, send it to your friends, and say, man, I bet you guys are hating yourselves in school right now. But that's really, really cool. So anybody out there, my seat is going to be available for the foreseeable future, unless Ravi and Miguel tell me that it's time to go to Mania again, and I will gladly pack my bag and head to New Orleans.